The next thing I want to talk to you about is the client point of view. Point of view is a term that writers and actors use when they're talking about giving complexity to a character, so that a character doesn't come off as one-dimensional. And as a lawyer, to think about a client or a potential referral source as somebody who's far more than a position in a company or a set of problems is how you're going to be able to develop a meaningful relationship with that person. It's how you'll be able to understand how they experience the world differently than you do. Because if all you do is try to imagine the world from their point of view, to step in their shoes, the problem is you bring all of your point of view into that. And that doesn't work, that doesn't help. So you need to ask questions about what matters to them. You need to listen when they describe what they do to understand where the problem points might be. Because ultimately, what you're looking to understand is essentially what mediators look to understand. Not their positions, but what's behind that. What are their interests and concerns? What do they really want, need, expect, and prefer? There are two last points that I want to talk to you about. One we call the client journey, and it really begins before somebody is a client. And you have to think of the client journey as the decision points of that person. First, they have no idea who you are, and they have no idea if they have any need for what you can do. And so you have to interact with that person in a way that they develop a level of awareness. And you do that by the point of view questions that I mentioned earlier. As they progress from having no sense or no idea of what you can do for them, who you are as a person, whether they can trust you, and what they might need to make their professional and personal lives a little bit better, you can progress, or the client progresses along that journey until they get to a point where they actually do have an understanding that there might be a nice fit there. Now, parallel to this client journey is your continuous learning process. And by that I mean you're giving information and you're getting information from them. You're really trying to understand at every point, at every decision point, what is it that they need to hear or maybe ask of you? So you need to take a very curious point of view. You need to listen deeply, but you need to ask good questions. Sometimes you need to use a technique of repeating back to them, maybe paraphrasing what they're saying to you. The idea is for you to get a deep understanding of them and for them to get a deep understanding of you. Because lawyers are hired, for the most part, based on trust. You have to convince somebody who's never met you before that you're trustworthy. And a piece of that relates to confidence, and it relates to your credibility. So when you interact, you need to keep those things in mind. But the best way to do it is not to just talk about yourself, because that really doesn't work. But it's to ask them about themselves. And eventually, what will happen is they will come around and they will ask you questions about yourself.